Hey guys, I'm going to show you how to install ESTEST from a source package, and before I begin I'll just say that I'm running Ubuntu version 10.04. So the first thing we need to do is to install the exist dependency for ESTEST, and exist is an open source xQuery server and database that we use. You can go to their homepage at exist.sourceforge.net and go to their download page, and the installer we want is this exist setup 1.4.0 jar, and I previously downloaded this and it's on my desktop here. So the way we start the installer is to just open up a terminal, cd to desktop, and the command we want to run is java-jar and then the name of the installer, and hit enter, and then this will start the interactive installation package. And so we just hit next a bunch of times. You can change the installation path here. And here is usually where you set your administrative password for exist, but for this example we'll just skip this part and leave it blank. So next, 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 and here is starting to install the files for exist. Next again, and so we don't need any shortcuts. Next, and then quit. So exist is basically installed at this point. What we do now is to inflate the archive for the source for ESTEST, and that can be done using tar-xf est-r515.tar, and that's just an archive based on the revision that I chose for this example. And so we've inflated that archive. We can cd into the inflated directory, and here we want to inflate the secondary source package for ESTEST that contains the third-party libraries that we used. And these are mostly things like jQuery that we didn't really want to include with our source distribution. So the command for that is tar-xf -estest thirdparty.tar. And so once that's finished, we can basically start the installation process for ESTEST, and that's really easy. We're just going to say make install, and it's going to enter into the interactive setup portion. So this setup is basically going to ask you some questions to determine the configuration for the server. The first question is, what is the system administrator's email? And so this is going to be the email that you use. We'll just say our email for this demonstration. And then it asks you for a signature on your email. That is, when the server sends out mail to the users, it'll append this signature at the end. So team ESTEST for us. What is the domain name for the server? So that's basically your web address. And so this is a test. The localhost is just fine. We can hit enter. Where is the ExistDB installation located? Well, we had just installed that, so we'll go and find it here. Exist. And this is basically the root directory of the exist installation, and so we want this path here. At this stage, we can really start we should start the exist server, and we can do that with the command /bin/startup.sh, and that starts the exist server for the later portions of this setup script is necessary. So go back here and just hit return. What is the port used for the exist server? The default is 8080, and that's just fine. Please enter a directory to store temporary user registration files, preferably not /temp. Well, we say not /temp because these files are more permanent in the sense that you may want to refer to them when deciding which users to accept. But for this demo, /temp is just fine as well. So do you wish to use GPG encryption to store these temporary user files? And no is just fine for this. Do you wish to use track with this installation? Well, we don't have a track, so let's just say no. So now we can go ahead and initialize the exist server environment, and it's going to ask you for your exist administrator password, but we didn't set one, so we just hit enter. And then lastly, it asks if you're going to use the Apache web server, which is really the standard server we use with ESTEST, and hitting yes or no is fine. We'll just say yes. So that's it for this phase of the installation. It basically created some files like myconfig.sample.py, postinstall, and http://sample.include.conf. And so there are instructions to follow in this postinstall.txt file that that finish the installation process. And basically what they are is they just tell you to check this sample configuration file, myconfig, so we can check that. And it looks okay. If it looks okay to you, you can quit out of that and copy it to the site packages for ESTEST using the command cp myconfig.sample.py .site packages myconfig.py. And then the last step we need to do is to initialize the Apache server with our ESTEST websites. And this file, httpd.sample.include.conf, just gives you one really simple configuration that you can use with your Apache. Of course, you can tweak it however you like, but this will get you up and running really fast. So we can just copy that and open another terminal and go to our Apache installation that I installed previously and edit the configuration file ./conf http.conf. So this is just your Apache configuration file. It's pretty standard. We can just go to the end and then paste in the include file that ESTEST generated straight up. And so we save that and then start up the server for Apache. And this is just an example on a desktop. You know how to start your own servers. And so that's basically it. Now we can check that the installation is complete by opening up a web browser and going to localhost/ESTEST. That's how we configured it. And it's going to give you this nice vanilla installation of ESTEST. And you can log in as admin, because that's the first user registered. And you can come here and create your own simulations and check that everything is working out fine. We'll just create some Qbox simulations. And so I created these files. Just reload and see we have some files stored in ESTEST. You can check that the keywords are working. So here we have our first keyword. And so that's basically it for the ESTEST installation. It's really easy, and so we hope that you do this for your own server and have no trouble with it. Alright, thanks a lot.